Shalom, shalom, Shavua Tov. We are studying Masechet Avot. We are in Perek Gimel, third chapter, Mishnah Yud Zayin. In some Sefarim, it will be marked as Mishnah Yud Dalet, so it's or 17 or 14. We're continuing with the words of Rabbi Akiva. Hu haya omer, Rabbi Akiva would say, Haviv Adam shenivra b'selem, hiba yitera nodat lo, shenivra b'selem, shene'emar ki b'selem Elohim asa et Adam. The first of the three prong statement or statements is how precious is man. Man was created in a unique way. If we read the story of creation, of course, we'll see that there is something unique about the creation of man. The pasuk says, "B'selem Elohim asa et Adam." We usually translate as, in quotations, in the image of God. Of course, God's not physical, and he doesn't have a physical image. And this is something that Rambam, Maimonides, speaks about right in the beginning of the Moreh Nevuchim. But in any way that we translate it or explain the idea, it's very clear that there is something extremely special and unique about humanity, as attested in the pasuk. Tselem Elohim asa et Adam. So the Mishnah is, Rabbi Akiva is saying in wonderment how unique and how special humanity is. There's a doubling in each one of the three statements that we're going to study. Haviv Adam shenivra b'selem. Hiba yitera nodat lo. What's this doubling? Rambam has an approach. Rambam's explanation is not only did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create man in this unique, special way, he tells us when you give a matana to an individual, when you tell them of the matana, it's even a greater expression of love and hiba. So that's hiba yitera nodat lo. That there's an English translation here actually says it in a nice way. It says, especially beloved is he, for it was made known to him that he was created in the quote-unquote image of God. Next, Rabbi Akiva continues, Havivin Yisrael shenikra'u banim lamakom. How special, how loved, how unique is Am Yisrael. We are considered, or we are termed Banim, children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Makom, Hiba yitera nodat lahem, and how this matana was told to us that we were called Banim, because it says, Banim atem Adonai Elohechem. Finally, the third statement, Havivin Yisrael shenitan lahem keli hemda. How special Am Yisrael is. We were given this unique keli, this unique tool, so to speak, this beautiful tool that helps us achieve our greatest expression of our humanity, the Torah Kedosha. Hiba yitera nodat lahem. It was told to us that we received this keli, this instrument that the world was created with. Kli hemda shebo nivra ha'olam shene'emar ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al ta'azovu. The pasuk in Mishlei, of course, is talking about the Torah. I will just mention 2 points. One point is, it's interesting that the Mishnah, Rabbi Akiva says, Haviv Adam shenivra b'selem, and we all think of b'selem Elohim, as the pasuk says. And it's interesting that he didn't mention, I would think he would say, Haviv Adam shenivra b'selem Elohim. There's an interesting perush on Pirke Abot of Rabbeinu Yosef ben Shushan. He was one of the Megorashei Sefarad, and he says, from the fact that the Lefi sheshana b'selem setam, since Rabbi Akiva used the term just b'selem without saying b'selem Elohim, he says it seems that he had a unique perush to the pasuk that we find elsewhere in Hazal in the time of the Tanaim. There is a different, we're all accustomed to explain the Selem Elohim in the image, whatever that means, in the image of God. But actually, there's another perush that exists, and he has it in his girsa, in his text of Unkelus, and also Rabbi Yitzhak Abarbanel also has this way of his reading in Unkelus, where Onkelos translates the pasuk, Vayivra Elohim et Adam b'salmo. God created man b'salmo shel Adam, in his own unique way, which also expresses how unique man is. B'salem, in his own special mold and way, Elohim bara oto. So it's very interesting. So Rabbi Yosef ben Shushan says, Rabbi Akiva must have explained the pasuk the way that some books have Onkelos explaining the pasuk, which is God created man in his own unique image of man, not that it's B'Tselem Elohim. And now we would understand why the Mishnah says Tselem. It's interesting that in general we have a lot of connection between Onkelos, his Aramaic translation to the Torah, and the Perushim we find of Rabbi Akiva specifically. Let's move on to the next Mishnah. On the next Mishnah, Harambam says, "Baba zo kolelet inyanim gedolim meod." This next statement in the Mishnah of Rabbi Akiva has a tremendous amount in it, and let's read it and see if we can give a little of an explanation. Hakol safui v'arshut netunah. Hakol safui, lispot is to see. Rambam explains as if it says Hakol safui merosh. Everything is, God sees everything in advance. God has foreknowledge of future events. V'arshut netunah. At the same time, every human being has behira hofshit, has reshut. Okay, Rambam has an analysis of why this is not a contradiction. In his 5th chapter in Hilchot Teshuvah, he speaks of this. God's foreknowledge of future events is not a contradiction to humanity's free will. On one hand, Hakol Safui, God sees everything, he knows what I'm going to choose. On the other hand, that does not contradict in any way the fact that we have Behira Hofshit. And that's a interesting topic. If anybody's interested in reading a little more on it, I recommend the 5th chapter, the 5th and 6th chapter of Hilchot Teshuvah of Rabbeinu Harambam. Continues Rabbi Akiva, Ubtob ha'olam nidon. The God judges the world not only to the letter of the law, with chesed, Ubtob ha'olam nidon. V'hakol lefi rov ha'maaseh. Harambam has a beautiful explanation over here of Hakol lefi rov ha'maaseh. It goes according to the continued engaging in mitzvot over and over and over again. Harambam says if somebody gives tzedakah of I don't know, $1,000, the effect that it has on you, on the giver, is not the same as giving 1,000 times $1, because the ribui maaseh that you engage in kiyum mitzvot is what instills in you the midot that the Torah is trying to instill in us. I want to just mention one point on the previous Mishnah. The structure of the Mishnah begins from Haviv Adam. It starts with humanity, then it goes more specific to Israel. Israel is unique, and then the specific Kedusha of Israel is expressed in our connection to the Torah. So humanity as a whole, Am Israel specifically, and the Torah Kedusha even more specifically. Kol Tuv, all the best. Skol Shem Abot.